All right, let's go ahead and get familiar with CQL. So if we hit the hamburger icon and go to investigate, and then in advanced event search, that is where you'll find all of the raw endpoint logs stored in their new backend sim for log scale. And the query language is now the CrowdStrike query language. As you open it up, there's a couple of tabs at the top: search, dashboards, and lookup files. Haven't really played a lot with the dashboards or lookup files, but if you wanted to save a search, you can populate a dashboard and kind of use that for metrics or alert information or whatever kind of custom dashboard you'd like to build. But today we're just focusing on learning CQL and looking at how do I make sense of all this endpoint log data. So you can have Falcon data or third-party data. You can just leave it on all. Sometimes you'll have the Falcon collector data in there as well. And then this is how you can visualize or kind of how do you want your results from your search to be displayed. I'm going to just leave it on auto and do the event listing like it is here. On the left-hand side, you have your field menu bar. Again, you can kind of click on a field name and see the values. It's very intuitive. Again, it's a really nice upgrade that CrowdStrike has done. You can point and click to say, yes, I want it to equal the event simple name of a user logging off, and you would just hit equal, and it would auto-populate that into your search bar in the CQL format. You have your time field for @timestamp available, and your raw string. Your raw string is going to have the whole event with all the field names and values for the key value pairs. Again, you can filter this for any kind of string value. If you wanted something with remote, like remote IP, remote port, you can filter on that and then kind of hover over it and click and get quick wins to see what remote IPs have been established within the last 15 minutes or whatever you're filtering on. A very easy to navigate point and click menu to kind of see really quickly without even building out any CQL, are any of these values of interest to me that I would want to dig down to further. You also have your filter at the top, which looks pretty similar to the Splunk kind of presets. You can do last minutes, last hours, last couple of days. You can do relative to. If you want to do 15 minutes ago, hours ago, days ago, you can put in an advanced. You could do a fixed time ranged and use the calendar. Timestamp field is what you're going to go off of. You don't want to use the ingest timestamp because that's when it was ingested into the sim. You want to do the timestamp to actually have the timestamp of when the event occurred from the raw log. But very easy point and click navigation. If we just want to filter on presets for the last hour and kind of let that run, that'll be for all of the endpoints in my environment for the last hour for their endpoint logs. These are your results for a bucket span of 30 seconds over time. So you can also point and click and drag. If you wanted to zoom in on that time, it will update your time picker on the right and say, hey, you've selected a new time range, and you'd be further filtered into your event of interest or whatever is of interest. But let's go ahead and just pick a host. So we can pick for computer name, and we can just pick this laptop here. And it'll filter on our computer name. And let's kind of see events of interest. So if we wanted to do our event simple name, doesn't come up, but we could do a simple name, and then equals, we do process roll up to, or event simple name equals, and then we could do synthetic process roll up to, And if we take from our base search, so we can have our time field converted to human readable format from epoch and put into UTC. And then we kind of pick out some field names of interest and we hit run. Here we have a nice chart. You'll notice that whatever you choose to table out or to select as field names will be the only fields displayed in your field menu bar. You can kind of sort by time, command line. You can see the number of results is almost 2,500. You can scroll over, kind of hard to view in this format, but you can also save and export to file in CSV if you want to look at that a little bit quicker. We can start filtering out fields of interest if we didn't want to see something. So command line looks like it's in here. Some Splunk, Edge. So if we wanted to filter out stuff, you can. If you didn't want to, include it, you can exclude it. But if you didn't want to exclude the exact field value and just kind of keep it vague for I don't want to see any Splunk stuff, you could do command line does not equal, and then anything with Splunk, wrap that in double quotes. And rerun that, and that should filter out stuff that does not have Splunk in it and kind of see stuff a little bit easier. This also looks like a bunch of junk, so maybe we want to fix this search and filter it out a little bit more. Let's say we want to do a string value in here and just show me stuff that came from the command prompt, so we can put in a string value to match anything that came from cmd.exe. And this is, you can see what I typed in the command prompt a couple minutes ago for pinging Google, ipconfig, netstat ANO. I issued task list. So you can kind of further refine your searches to kind of see the data as it helps you. We could do something different as well, keeping your query language the same as the base. Keep our base search in there. We can get rid of everything else. Let's see. Let's go back and see all of the fields of interest. Maybe we want to group by something. Domain name. I'm sure we've gone to more than just one domain here. Let's try and group by something. So if we take just a domain and we want to group by it, we could do group by, and then open parentheses, square bracket, domain name. The CQL tries to help you out by showing you the fields available as you type. And then we can do a function, which is going to be count. And then we're going to do as count. And we can let that run. Oh, function. And we can see all the different domain names that we've gone to and their count. We can kind of sort it, descending or ascending, or you can put in there in your CQL to sort or descend by count. If we wanted to look at something for all of them that had Google in there, we can easily put a string search in and see what domains I've gone to that are just related to having Google in the name. I know I went to my website, so if we type in Blue Team, we should see the domain of blueteamwins.com as I navigated to the website. On the host, that's some grouping by events. If we wanted to do something different and kind of look at IP information, we can maybe do like an event simple name. That has network connect in it. Sure, network connect IP4. And instead of grouping by domain, again, we leave our base search in there and we kind of just change out the field names of interest. So we can do remote address IP4. We can do that for now, kind of see what's in there. Oops. And we can see all of the remote addresses that I've visited, 270 over the last 2 hours. We can sort by count. Doesn't really tell me much. We can add in the service here. So let's add in the remote port. And sort by remote port. And as we can see, some DNS connections, 80, 137, and the rest is probably HTTPS and random high ports. So that's just some ordering that you can do, some quick wins. If you just kind of want to see what's available on the host or pull out everything and not really worry about learning CQL, like I mentioned, you can just filter on the laptop. Maybe you want to look at the past 24 hours or the past day, filter on the whole day, leave everything else as blank, or at least you want to convert your time. So you want to have your time search in there. Rerun that so that the time field will populate. And then maybe you want to just export this to CSV. You're going to need your field names to be in there. So if we select some field names of interest from our base search, put that back in. Kind of want to put any field of interest that you can think of. So hash data, file name in there, username. Let's put some network information in there for remote address, remote port. We have command line in there, usernames in there, hash data. I mean, that's a pretty good place to start. Then you would run this and you would see that you have 94,000 events of interest. You can kind of review it in the table here and further filter down in your CQL, either from clicking on values and filtering them out. If you only wanted to do a specific username of interest, specific file name of interest, or start excluding stuff before you start exporting it out to lower your total results, you can. And then you can hit save, export to a file, CSV, and then select all to select all the file names that you chose to select out in line 3. And then give it a name. And we did like last 2 hours. Raw pull. Actually, what we should put in here is definitely the raw string. Definitely want to include your raw string when you export it out so you can have the entire event contained within there. So if we scroll all the way to the right, this is our raw string column. Just in case there's fields that we didn't put in our select command that we want to see the values for, you'll have it in your raw event. So save, export to file, CSV. You can kind of select all. Last 2 hours, raw CrowdStrike export, and then maybe like your host name of interest. And this was ending in 80 alpha. And then you can hit export and put it wherever on your desktop, save, and that file will be available for you to review in CSV format if you wanted to export it to Excel and kind of perform analysis on it in there. But overall, the CQL is not bad to learn. If you're looking for a repository of searches, we definitely have that available on the website. But as far as getting started, they've made it very easy to point and click and either include or exclude. The biggest things, again, are working with time to get that in a human readable time format that's available within UTC, and figuring out how to table and then how to group by. And then the rest is kind of just picking your strings that you want to search by or your event simple name of interest, and then further adding in strings of interest.